Composing Gloves here. Today we're looking at Visco. It is a drum synthesizer slash groove box that allows you to take your drums, turn them into blobs. So this blob right here, this is a kick drum. If you want it to last longer, you can simply drag it up. Now it's longer. If you want it to have different frequencies, just drag it over. This is the frequencies. This is how long. And there you go. If you want to undo it, you can undo it here. This is the cool thing it lets you do. Because it lets you do this, it means you can go from one blob to another blob. We'll go back one so we're right at the beginning. So if I go over to our sequencer, solo it up. I don't need to come here. I don't know why I came over here. You could just solo it here. And then we hit play. We can go to our other blob. You might be thinking, can I give it blobs? Can I give it my own samples? The answer is yeah. Like say, for example, that we want to use this one. Then we're going to come over here and choose to import audio files. And I'm going to grab it here. And which one did I look at that we want to look at? 15. We'll go for 15. There's no drag and drop as far as I'm aware on how to do this. It's one of my few things that I'm like, I wish that was there. So if we hit play, move over. There's the shaker. Go back. That's what makes this so gosh dang crazy, is this blobification. It makes it so malleable. So many things you can do. This is the shaker, by the way. Let's really quick go through things you can do with just the blob, not even changing things. So you can have up to 8 blobs, 8 things, and you can morph between them. You've got a time scale. So if the time scale is shorter, this will be shorter. And if you have it longer, it'll be longer. Oh yeah, and you just look at that. I wish I could just like squeeze it in my hand. I don't know, it just feels so touchable. The frequency is in the Mel scale, which is interesting. But it basically, you go higher, it's a higher frequency. And if you go lower, it's a lower one. Like so. Over here, we've got our contrast. Now on this, the kick might make more sense. The kick has some things that stick out way more frequency-wise than other things. The things that sort of make the kick sound like the kick, the most important frequencies in the kick. The contrast will emphasize that. It'll make those frequencies last, or more important, it will last longer. That's probably not the best way to say it, but it will emphasize those. And it will de-emphasize the other stuff. If you take contrast down, it will de-emphasize those things that are more important in the sound and bring up the other stuff that isn't as important. It's kind of like a spectral compressor in a way. So if you ever go down, this is like noise, and you see how it becomes smoother, like we went over it with a rolling pin. That's the contrast. Sounds noisy. If you go the other way, kind of emphasizes those things. So in this case, the kick's so defined by one frequency, it's not that hard. Over here, the hi-hat, this will be interesting. This is a high contrast. That's it. It's just noise, right? So there's not really a lot. And then if you go down, noise. So interesting, right? If you put in claps, do we have a clap in here? Let's find out. We do. Let's look at the clap really quick. This is always kind of fun. We give it a high contrast. You can see sort of the clap appear a little more. And if we go the other way, we'll get that noise. Yeah, beautiful. Juicy. So then let's go over to the density. Density will look at the noise component specifically. So each thing has noise, and it will sort of emphasize or de-emphasize that. This is geared towards noise. Contrast is geared towards the most important frequencies. So if we go ahead and play this. Sounds kind of strange on a hi-hat. Let's go over to the kick. Oh, bigger noise artifacts brought up, removed. And it changes how it looks, right? Kind of cool. One's like glossy and has a lot of sheen to it. The high density, low density has this like dark, shadowy stuff on it. So that's what's going on there. I want to mention for playback, I'm hitting plus minus, but I've also locked it to the DAW so that when I hit play, it starts and it stops, which is kind of nice. Otherwise, I have to remember to, be clicking this. This, I'll unlock it when I'm no longer using it for playback directly. And we'll look at that here in a second. Underneath, we have some noise-related things. So only sounds that really have a lot of noise will make sense for this stuff. But if we play this sound and we go into the sequence and we give it like a bunch and we make it shorter, it sounds like this. I unlocked it right when I said I use that. So it varies a little bit each time. If I use frozen, it will hit the exact same way. You get that machine gun kind of sound. And you can choose which sound you want. So yeah, it hits the same way versus free just varies the noise every time. Makes it sound a little bit more natural. Down here we have voicing. Polyphony. Polyphony's weird. I never touch it. I believe it allows you to have multiple overlapping notes, but it's something that I just don't touch. I haven't found a reason for me to touch it. It's here though, so if you want to mess with it, you can. The release and the damping I find a lot more useful. So we can grab the blob and make it last a lot longer, just for the sake of an example. A release is like how long it takes before it releases. So if this is really short, sounds like that. It's really long, sounds like that. Damping is how quickly the high frequencies die out. So if I bring up the damping, it'll kill this high stuff really quick. If I don't have any damping, these will ring out for as long as they naturally would. Which for drum stuff isn't really kind of something you want. By default, it's at 25%, but you'll adjust this according to whatever you need, or you might adjust the time scale, who knows? And then finally, you've got your velocity. Now, the velocity, cool stuff down here. With the velocity, let's also go back to our original. You can control, basically you have a high velocity, then it'll play it louder or softer. I'm going to take this off. Instead, there are these models we can control, these things up here, and we can control those with the velocity. My favorite is the transform, but there are some other things in here. So let's go for a transform, and this is going to control basically which sample we're at. We had a kick, we had a shaker. So if I come in here and change the velocity, we'll make these first ones be sort of small, and then we'll morph it into that hat. Oops, didn't mean to get rid of that. You click to remove one. And now if we play this. And so the lower ones sound like the kick, the higher ones sound like the hat. Not the best sequence, but just to show you how it sort of works. That's how it works. So pretty cool. And you can change the scaling for this. So say I want to bring this down. Away you go. It can get real crazy real quick, especially if you're tossing in things here that aren't necessarily samples. So that's what this does. Down along the bottom, you can control the kit itself. So if we unsolo this, let's like find a sick preset. We can control the transform of the whole kit at once. Time scale. Frequency. Intensity. So they're like global macro controls. So if you want to change it all at once, that's what these are. Very, very cool. And this is the page I think you're going to spend the most time on. You can click and drag to manipulate the blob. You can use a magnet to grab it towards somewhere. You can use an eraser to sort of move it away from there. You can flip it. You can flip it in the other direction. So this is like flipping it in time, basically, and this is flipping it in frequency. So we can flip it in time as well. Now it's really weird, right? Move it over. Yeah. And we'll undo some of these things. I actually haven't checked. Let's really quick check. Can you automate the undo redo? Man, that would be so cool. That's my future request. Make this automatable. If these were automatable, wow. Just wow. Could you imagine? That would be so amazing. But it's not, apparently. So, sad day there. So with those things in mind, let's really quick take a look at some of the other capabilities. Oh, there's two other things here that like no one tells you, but you can totally do. If you're at the bottom, you can grab like a column. Oh, let's pick a different tool. and it'll apply that tool across the column, which is pretty nice. So now, and if you are on a row, like on the side, you can do that in time. So, right, you might want this, just chill out, bro. You know, so on, so forth. So now, if we go over to the sequence, you've got your swing, and then loose time and loose velocity just mean that this sequence that you've written, it's going to have some amount of variation in time and some amount of variation in velocity. And, you know, this, you click to add them. The first handle, which technically is over here, allows you to adjust where it starts. You can adjust the velocity, and then you can adjust how long. I mean, this is cool. In order to get like multiple things, you have to shrink them and then like nudge them over. And it can just be a bit tricky. I like to make the plugin bigger. If you click on the name and go over to the resize, I'm at 150%. But it's good enough to get a lot of effects going. You're definitely going to want to go to your DAW at some point if you're going to like seriously use this. And so for that reason, I really like the export MIDI. So you can save it as a preset, maybe just for future reference, or maybe you're just dabbling. But if you're ever ready to move on, you can, I already have one here. You can click export MIDI and drag it right to your DAW. And there it is, your sequence ready to be looped. So that's something I really appreciate. Super, super nice attention there. It just acknowledges that your DAW can probably do it better, right? Now, you could change the ends, how long each one goes when they rotate through, which is pretty nice. But that's the sequencer. This is not a page I'm at a lot. I often start here, and then once I jump from here to the DAW, I kind of don't come back. So just that's the sequencer page. It also just looks straight beautiful. That's so gosh dang pretty. It's just a pretty plugin in general. Over in the modulate tab, you can connect up various sources to various targets, including those macro targets or specific targets. You have track targets, and then you have your global ones. And in here, you can choose your sources. You have envelopes and LFOs. Nothing too groundbreaking about these, so I'm not going to spend time on them. You can add scalars like velocity or mod wheel. So if you're playing it, you can use that to augment how it affects the sound, which is really, really nice. And you can add the modulation depth. It's not super visual, so you do have to have a pretty clear idea of signal flow to do this. So for most people who are really familiar with synths, no big deal. But if this is your first time encountering a menu like this, it'll be a little scary. I think it's very, very straightforward. You just pick a target, like time scale, and you want it to be moved by the envelope. You pick your envelope, you pick your target, you give it a depth. Away you go. So pretty nice. Again, you may choose to do this via just automation or MIDI effects available in the DAW. And then finally, the mix output. They have these like strange like fader options where you can choose, like for example, if we look at the kick, this is the filter. There's like no other visuals other than just the control. You've got a clipper, stuff like that. So pretty interesting. So you've got like your amp, pan, width, and then some send effects, which can be varied. You can choose them here. They're all pretty straightforward. There's nothing like crazy about this. And you're probably going to want to go to your DAW at some point. That's what this is for. So you can choose to route these. I wish there was a button that would just automatically do this for me. Oh man, I'm doing it from the bottom. I want to do it from the bottom up too. Just so that things line up. 4, 5, and you can see you can send multiple things at once. So if you don't want them to be one-to-one, maybe you've got like 7 hi-hats or something. I don't know. You could have them all on the same bus. And then in FL Studio, this is different per DAW. You come up here, you choose auto map outputs, and then make sure they're on, because by default they're not. And now it should show up in your mixer. It'll be offset by wherever you put your Visco in the mixer. So they'll appear next to it if you've done it like this. If you put this as 1, then the first channel will be on the Visco channel. It's a matter of how you want to organize it. So anyways, yeah, that's the plugin. It's very, very cool. I dare say it's one of my favorite releases of 2024. It's so creative, this blob approach. It's just really cool. Let's take a look at just some things you can do that are interesting. And one other feature I didn't talk about is this random feature. If you right click, it gives you options. If you click it just straight up, it randomizes sounds in the sequence. I don't like randomizing the sequence. Like if we do it, just listen to it. I typically have to come in and clean it up. I don't know. It's sometimes a good starting point. I'll usually be writing my own though. I find these swapping out of sounds though to be very handy. So like here's our sounds. We'll change up the sound. Now there's one thing in here that's running as a, you know, just straight, what are these? Straight 16ths. So that sound in particular, we're going to have to be a little more selective with. Maybe we mute that one. And it'll work out. Anytime you have something that's droning on like that, you're going to need something a little bit better than randomization. You're going to have to pick that one specifically. I wish there was a way to lock things from this, like lock a lane or something. I don't know if there is. I haven't looked into it, but if there is, it's not like immediately apparent, like a little lock button, and then you can't move it. That would be cool. Anyways, let's take a look here. Let's just find like a random one of the things I like to do, because this video is already kind of long, and I just really wanted to convey how complete it is and just how pretty it is too. It's just really, really nice and inspiring. So let's just say like here's some random preset. Let's say that I want to do something really weird, like morph this to like a drone. So let's grab, here's some Atmos things. Let's pick something that's got more of a drone. Something like that. I want to go to just some weird thing. So let's grab one of these. I'm gonna open it so that I can get to the file location easily. I'm gonna go to import audio files. Again, the other thing I would like, if I could have another feature, is the drag and drop. That would be pretty cool. I'm sure they probably looked at it. It probably just wasn't worth the dev time or whatever. Let's just pick randomly, like one of these, any of these probably fine. Let's go over this sci-fi mood one. So now it's blobified it. You can look at how different that is too. What is this? Okay, let's see. And, you know, away you go. You can toss all kinds of things in here. Speech is another kind of fun one. I have some Vox things. I think one of them is for just random words that have been said. Oh, here we go. Why not, right? What the crap did this sound like? Let's use this one. Is that one being used in the thing? Yeah, it is. Okay, so let's grab this one. We will open. We will go over here. Import the blob. Import audio files. Pop it on down. Move your body, man. What does this sound like? It just says move. Perfect. I don't know. When you get more than one, it's harder to do it in real time. I'd need like some knobs to move them if I wanted to do it. Otherwise, you know, you write it as a sequence. But you can lead to all kinds of cool things. The presets in here are all really good. I really enjoy them. But that is Visco. I think it's really cool. I think you should check it out. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Subscribe and hit the bell for future videos, and have a blessed day.